Hello and welcome to the Women's Eye podcast. I'm your host, Stacey Gualandi. Now, there is no one better to help us build our money power than financial planner Catherine Scrivano. Catherine joins me for a new conversation on financial readiness and strategies for those who are recently widowed. Catherine, welcome. How are you?
I'm great, Stacey. Good to see you.
Good to see you too. Now, obviously, this is it's a big topic, but we've got lots of great. You've got lots of great advice to help us navigate this. Should this ever happen, and that we can it can be handled. We can get through it. If this
Yeah.
should, yeah. Well, we'll be talking about all of those ways to handle this. But first, this episode of our Building Money Power series is brought to you by Catherine's Casco Financial Group in Phoenix, Arizona. She started her business to help people create the financial strength to achieve their dreams. Now, Catherine, this is like I said, it's a tough subject, but it's something where it happens to people of all ages, and it's happened to you and I, or we have a direct connection to something like this. But and it's pretty much why you do what you do now. Is
It's
that right?
exactly, yeah. Yeah, you can draw a very straight line to my current profession from the fact that I was 8 years old when my father died very unexpectedly. And my
Mm.
parents were both only 31 years old at the time. And
Wow.
so they were not particularly prepared. It just didn't occur to them that something like this could happen. And I would like to tell you that my mom has always been my hero, and she got through this and was a wonderful example to me. But I also saw how hard it was. In 1962, single women were not raising children. This was not very common at that time.
Right.
Her life goal was to be a wife and mother. So suddenly she was the sole provider for these two children and just had to figure that out, had to go into the workforce without experience, etc. So that created in me a drive not only for my own personal independence, but to help others, to make other people aware of the tools and resources we can have. And the fact is, none of us live forever. This is something all of us will deal with in one way or another at some point, whether it's
Yes.
our own widowhood or perhaps that someone close to us. But having information is the best way to get through a difficult thing.
Yeah, and it's something that it informed you. So, like you said, you this was a path that you wanted to be able to help people uh, so that they are prepared in the horrible event that
Yeah,
this
yeah,
happens. And I kind of I saw it firsthand with my mom when my dad passed away in 2009, where he didn't take that time to help her to understand or to know the finances, even though she was, he had cancer and she wanted to understand, and it was just never anything that took place. So I always think I've got to be prepared, but the
yeah.
question is, how does one get themselves prepared when something like this happens? Because, you know, it's tough thinking about it beforehand, right?
It
To get
is.
into
It
this. Yeah.
is. One thing that others have told me that helps is as you're thinking through this, a way to think about it might be is if I passed away yesterday, or if I lost my spouse yesterday, what tools would be helpful today to make
Yeah.
it less terrible? And because it didn't happen, you're not quite as engaged in the sadness, etc. You could be a little bit more pragmatic.
Yeah, that is a really good point because I mean it does feel morbid, to have to
Yeah,
sit there
sure.
and say like I got to get all my ducks in a row, but yeah, I mean you could do it and then you have years where there's not,
Sure.
you know what I mean?
Please, yes, that's
Yeah.
that's our goal.
Exactly,
But to
exactly.
make
But
a time of great stress and sorrow, when you think, boy, I couldn't feel any worse, lack of preparation and information can make it harder.
Wow.
So, not that it's going to be easy, but it can be less hard if you've got information or if you find yourself suddenly in this position, knowing what tools you're going to need to get through. And, face it, all humanity, we all have an expiration date. And knowing that others have gone through it and do come out the other side, you have to go into it with the attitude that you will persevere.
Yes. Yeah. So knowing that or hearing that, there are so many emotions that are going on at the time. Where would someone even start?
Well,
Uh,
as far as gathering your financial data and the financial consequences of this life event, the first thing to do, I believe, is to acknowledge that you are very vulnerable right now.
mhm.
And I would beg you, please don't make any decisions that can't be undone.
Yes.
And there's kind of a boilerplate recommendation of wait 1 year before you sell the house, move,
We
all the
heard that a
things.
lot with my mom. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I don't know that 1 year is a magic number. For some people, it may restrict you from taking advantage of opportunities because you think, oh, this would be a good thing, but it hasn't been 12 months. I dare not do it.
Right.
And then
Right.
other times, a year's not enough. A year has not given you a chance to resolve all that you need to. So there's nothing magic about 12 months. But what does happen during that 12 months is you're going to face and get through anniversaries, birthdays, holidays. You're going to establish that you can survive those hard days, define your new normal. And with that experience, I think it's a great time to start thinking about, okay, what changes could I make? But
Yes, because I remember, in terms of grieving, I remember, like my aunt, it was very difficult when her husband passed away. Everyone's grieving is different, so
mhm, yeah.
I think that plays a big factor as well, as far as being able to, tackle everything, and so everyone's period of time is different, I think, as
But
well. So,
acknowledging that vulnerability.
yep.
And I would like to talk for a minute about the vulnerability that someone with very high emotions and quite possibly because of life insurance proceeds and that kind of thing may have newfound wealth.
Oh,
And that's not a very good combination.
yeah, yeah.
Um, so the bad guys, I've always talking about the bad guys as if they're lurking in the bushes all the time, but they are very aware of this vulnerability and will spring out and try and take advantage of you. So please acknowledge that you are probably not in the best position to be making decisions right now, that it's nice to have distractions,
Hmm.
and they know what buttons to push. If you have been named in a obituary, whether it's a surviving spouse or a child or anything like that, I can almost guarantee you're going to be contacted. And the anticipation on their side is that you will have recently inherited some money and they
Aha.
would
Yeah.
love to separate you from that.
So there's
Uh,
scams, obviously, right
there
out of
are
the gate.
incredible scams.
Hmm.
Also, we just in the last month or so, slightly more than a month, a couple, the husband passed away. And in talking to the surviving spouse, I said, please check your credit report and flag anything for which you are jointly responsible. Make sure that you don't have accounts that you weren't aware of. She checked her credit report that same day and found out there had already been hacks
Oh
attempts
no.
to get money. Well, they were successful. They had removed money from her husband's account. And I suspect it was the result of a very public obituary that they had done. It was a beautiful tribute to him.
Right.
But again, the bad guys went, oh, nobody's paying attention right
Yeah, it's
now.
like all those pulsating arrows, pointing
Yeah.
like here. Yeah, because we didn't do that. We didn't do an obituary for my dad. So
Uh-uh.
yeah, because again, there are people, like
Yeah.
you said, lurking out
Yeah.
there too,
Yeah.
for
So
sure.
just acknowledge that vulnerability. watching your credit report, perhaps this is a good time to put a freeze on your credit.
Okay.
So
Interesting.
just again, we can go into lots of details about scams, and I don't want to dwell on that too much. But my first bit of advice is just realize that this is not a great time for you to be making decisions, and that there are those out there who want to take advantage of your situation.
Yeah. It was interesting when you said like if a wife is looking at her credit report, do you hear that a lot in your business where somebody said, "Well, my husband handled all of
Oh,
the
we
money."
hear that all the time. Yeah, we actually do a workshop called My Spouse Always Handled the Money.
Oh,
And
yeah.
that's years ago, the title of that workshop was My Husband Always Handled the Money. Now, of course, we know that the division of labor, the likelihood of the other person handling finances is equal. Ideally, everybody is in tune and is very familiar with all of the financial resources and obligations. But in the real world, our lives are very complicated and things may go without disclosure and until you need to know. So we suggest as you're kind of going through this process, once you've established and you have your mindset about vulnerability, the second thing is determining where you are right now. Where do you stand financially? And in a way, it can be kind of a pleasant surprise in looking through resources, looking through bank accounts, credit card statements, those kinds of things. You may find payments for insurance that you didn't know was out there. That's
Uh,
happened more than once.
huh.
You may find benefits through employers or associations. Very often, credit unions offer life insurance that's attached to savings accounts. There may be some money that you find that you didn't even really think that was available to you. So go into your research. My suggestion would be don't make judgments about good or bad. You're just
Uh-huh.
looking for numbers, looking for accounts, and seeing what's available to you. Don't make any decisions about those dollars yet. You're just gathering the information.
Yep.
And
It's just
when you
assessing.
reach, yeah, well, sure, because without information, you're not going to be able to make good decisions when the time is right. But part of in doing research as you're reaching out to uh, employers, former employers, benevolent associations, any kind of uh, resources that you may uncover, please let them know as you do the research that you are only asking for information. You're not going to make claims right away. You're not asking for advice. You're just finding out what's available
Yeah.
because you may be able to coordinate things in a way that is a lot more advantageous than if you just respond to each thing one at a time as
One at
they
a
come
time.
up. Is if they're not coordinated, you may end up leaving some things behind.
Interesting. And a lot of times our clients or just people, women tackling this information just like for the very first time.
Mhm.
There's obviously an argument to be made that they should be perhaps doing this, you know, years before or prior to something
Oh,
happening. Yeah.
absolutely. Sure,
Yeah.
sure. But whether you did prepare for the inevitable and have all the information you needed, or you were like my mom who said, I'm 31 years old. What could go
What
wrong?
could go
I'm
wrong?
figuring it
Yeah.
out. Regardless, either way, you're going to have to find out where you are. You're going to have to go through the process. Be open to the idea that even if you've been meticulous about record keeping and information already, you may very well find things that you didn't know. It
Yeah.
could have just been pure oversight, or maybe the deceased person was unaware that there were benefits or things available to them. They weren't hiding it, they just didn't
They
know.
just didn't even know.
So
Yeah.
you're just going to need to go through the process.
A lot of times people are right there with all best of intentions, but wanting to offer advice or do this, do that. What do you say to someone who has just gone through a loss, looking for the right person to
I
hold their
know.
hand through this
Yeah.
process?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's challenging. You'll have your well-meaning friends and relatives, people who only have your interest at heart, but perhaps are not qualified to be giving you advice about finances.
Hmm.
So give them a hug, thank them for their input, and tell them that you will take that into consideration when you tackle this, that's the time is not now. Those who have a relationship with a financial planner have the benefit of, I always tell my clients, any offers or suggestions, have those folks contact me.
Okay. Yeah.
And I will, and you know what? The bad guys don't want to call me. They know the
So
answer is
you're
going to
not
be
hearing
no.
from them.
No, no. But just being kind of a gatekeeper is a role of a financial advisor, and it can be a real comfort to kind of just deflect and let somebody else be. Sometimes a family member who comes to you with a great idea on how to spend the life insurance proceeds needs to hear it from me that it's not a good idea rather than from you.
Yeah. I mean, and that's why someone like yourself is
Yeah.
very, very important.
Yeah, we
But again, we've touched on this, but too, I guess everyone has their own personal timeline, but when you really obviously need to do as much as you can before something happens. But also, let's say you didn't really do that much ahead of time. Is it just a matter of starting when you're feeling like you're through the grief process? Or I'm just trying to tackle, like,
yeah.
people are so emotional. How do they can't do that right away, I suppose.
Surprisingly, we very often hear from clients almost immediately, or
Okay.
sometimes very much immediately, because the distraction of gathering documents and all of filing claims, all the paperwork and everything like that, that's a way to kind of distract ourselves from grief,
Okay. So
just busy work.
yeah.
And understanding that, knowing that that's what you're doing, there is certainly a valid choice. Again, I just want to caution everyone, please don't be making decisions during this time.
Hmm.
But you would be surprised, I think. I could tell you an awful lot of stories about our office getting a call while someone is actively passing or has passed. I mean, the body is still available. I mean, and we recognize that that's what's happening is those grieving families, they don't want to deal with that.
Yeah, they
Oh,
want
here's an
to.
alternative. Let's spend our energy here.
Yeah.
And in perspective, we know how to work through that. But we are also cautioning them, we're not making decisions now. We're just gathering documents, gathering facts, identifying what's available and what we're responsible for doing.
What are the principal or primary records and documents and things that they should be looking? Because that was, I remember not knowing any of that. And then when my
Yeah,
dad passed, that's when we start Googling, like, what do we do? What do we look for?
yeah.
It was an education. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, applying for benefits, a lot of times you're going to have to document your standing with regard to the deceased. So if you are a spouse, you may find that you need to have a marriage certificate. You may need to have birth certificates for your children. So all the boring government documents that hopefully all of us know how to get to immediately now anyway,
Yeah.
you're going to need them, and you're probably going to need them quickly. If you've had military service, your discharge papers will open the doors to some benefits in some cases. So there's a variety, just all those government documents, you want to be
Yeah.
able to gather them. Virtually nothing will happen in the financial world until a death certificate is issued. You can imagine that, if I called your bank and said, "Oh, Stacy died," and I'll be handling things from there. They don't want to talk to me until they know that you're actually gone.
Exactly. They have to
So
have many of those copies. Yeah.
yeah, so you're going to be, in the initial stages again, until the death certificate is issued, you're going to be just gathering the information and finding out who to contact and how.
At what point would uh would the widow start to maybe start a whole new financial plan, to
Yeah.
say, okay, I have all of this. Now this is when I can start planning, for
Yeah,
for their
you're,
for themselves.
yeah, you're going, inevitably, you'll be thinking about what does my life look like today going forward. We had goals as a couple, we had expectations as a couple. Now, as a single person, those may very likely change. Certainly, the dollar amounts will change and the resources available will change. So, you're going to be thinking that anyway very soon. But putting the dollar amount to those changes is something that's going to need to take place probably fairly quickly. You don't have to be making long-term and hard and fast commitments, but just getting a sense of what do living expenses look like. The person that is no longer with us obviously took some resources, but probably contributed some resources as well. So what is the impact of both of those?
Yeah, because it's and obviously working with somebody again could help guide you, because a lot of times perhaps maybe they haven't been handling the finances, and this is all new
Yeah,
to
yeah.
them, but as far as planning, making their own plan too, but and setting new goals and that kind of thing too. So I was going to ask, but it's something that you said to me before, that you check constantly. Your quarterly is what you're looking at. Um,
In our household, it probably doesn't surprise anyone. I'm the keeper of the financial documents and information, and I just have a quarterly process so that those who would be left behind to deal with all of the financial stuff, um, they're never more than 90 days from being current. And that's just something that I do as a gift to my family. And they
yeah.
they know where to find everything. They know where to find the copies of birth certificates and marriage certificate, all of the stuff, the documentation that they may need. And I would love to say that if something happens within that 90-day period that I immediately update, probably not. But again, they're never more than 3 months away from having the most current information, and I think it's a great thing that I've left for them. Having so much experience professionally in helping people just dig through and finding things while they're grieving. I mean, I would like to see you spend as much time as you can healing yourself and healing your family.
Yes, and not having to deal
Yeah,
with all of this,
right.
which can be very overwhelming. But if it's something that you're doing before something terrible happens, you notice I'm
Yeah,
drilling this into my own head as
yeah.
as I'm saying this, because this is a process that I'm trying to be prepared, years out,
Right,
but
right.
sometimes it's really hard. So, but is there, I guess, what are the three most important things that you would like people to really understand when it comes to this subject matter? What are those, would you say, the
My
three most
my
important points?
top my top thing, and I just cannot stress it enough, is as you acknowledge where you are now financially, also acknowledge where you are emotionally and the fact that you are vulnerable
Mhm.
to people with bad intentions and people with good intentions but bad advice. And so just resolve not to make decisions. Not another distraction sometimes is spending money. But we know a lady who this was a number of years ago. Shortly after her husband passed, she went on a cruise. And this is a cruise that the two of them had planned. And she felt very comfortable that he would have wanted her to go. So
Okay.
all of that was fine. She came back, and all of a sudden, things started arriving at her home that she had purchased while she was traveling, and she
Oh
had no
no.
memory of doing it. She didn't even once the credit card bills came and she was putting two and two together, oh yeah, that's right. But just in her in her grief and in trying to make herself feel a little better,
Yeah.
she was shopping, and it was almost like she was sleepwalking through the experience. So
Wow.
I don't know how that could be avoided other than a heightened awareness of not making big decisions, big purchases, big commitments, because you're not in your best logical mind.
Yeah.
And, if you can find support groups through your church, through associations, if your experience has been with cancer or Alzheimer's or certain specific diseases, hospice does a wonderful job of helping people with support groups, and they're going to reaffirm what I'm saying right now is don't make those decisions while you're going through figuring out what life looks like right now.
Yeah. It's just you want to get everything just in front of you, as like you
Yeah,
said,
and
as a distraction. And then at some point, I think you'll know perhaps when the
uh-huh.
time is right to
You
start.
will know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
It's
you'll have a clarity that you just realize that you haven't had for a while. And that's kind of a sign that now it's time to make decisions and make commitments, but
yeah.
not before, not too soon. And again, 1 year, that's a fine place to start, but it may not be the right place for you. You may need more time, and
Yeah.
and give it to yourself, because my final words are, remember, we all go through it. Everyone has had the experience or will have the experience, and you will get through it just as those before you have. It's not an easy road, but you'll end up okay.
And I think that's still the underlying message is that there are the resources, they're out
Hmm.
there and we can find them, and that'll help us through that process, and that we can all get through it. I
Yeah,
think is the yeah.
yeah. My heart is with anyone experiencing this now or about to experience. I can't tell you that it's easy, but I can tell you you'll be okay at the end.
Yeah, I think that's a great way to leave that thought with
Yeah.
everybody. So, Catherine, thank you so much once again in helping us to build our money power. And it's
This is
great.
a
It's great
this is
advice.
this is a thoughtful and hard one. Next time we'll do something more fun and light, but hopefully this is helpful to someone going through a tough
Absolutely.
time.
Because like you said, we all go through this on some levels. So, but thank you, Catherine. To learn more about Catherine Scrivano and all of her financial tips, just go to thewomen'seye.com, and there you'll also find our books, 20 Women Change Makers and 20 Women Storytellers. You can find these also at thewomen'seye.com/books. Don't forget to subscribe to our newsletter and our YouTube channel. Let us know your comments, questions, likes, dislikes. We would love to hear from you. Again, thank you, Catherine. You're so good. You're my shiro. and
Thanks,
to
Stacey.
and to all of you for tuning into the Women's Eye podcast, just keep building your money power. I'm Stacey Gualandi. Remember, it's the world as we see it.